Hi, I'm here to go over the Quiz 1 review. I will say first that I was a little disappointed to realize I had given you a copy of a different review than the recording that I already had made. So here we go. If you happen to have watched that, good review. They're just not the same questions, so you don't know if your answers are right. So thanks for listening now. So the question asks for the mode, median, and mean. So we want to remember that the mode is the one that happens the most. And so I see that 2 happens 4 times. So 2 is definitely the mode. And if I want to know the median, I need to put them in order, and then the median is in the middle. So remember, mode happens most, median is in the middle when they're in order, least to greatest. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in order now. So I see a 1, see those 4 2s. So I'm going to kind of mark these off or highlight them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have 2 3s. Then I see 2 4s. And a 6. So then I need to find the middle. So people have different ways of finding the middle. You could kind of mark off like those 2, those 2, those 2, those 2. And then what I find when I say those 2, there's no one left in the middle. The middle is actually right between there. So there are really 2 numbers in the middle. So remember, when there are 2 in the middle, I need to add them together and then divide by 2. Which will be 2.5. Or if you just think, what's halfway between 2 and 3? 2.5. So that's the median. It's in the middle. And so obviously, if you made a mistake and you had worked out the review ahead of time, then you should go back and fix your mistakes. And this is going to come in handy because there'll be good examples when you're actually taking your quiz. So to find the mean, we need to add all the numbers together. And when I added them all together, I got 29. So we add them all and divide by the number of numbers. So in this case, we're dividing by 10 because there are 10 numbers. So I got 2.9. And of course, I'm here at home without like a key that I might have at school. So I'm double checking. I got 9, 12, 15, 19, 23, 29. Yep, sticking with that answer. All right, the question didn't actually ask the range. The range would have been the highest minus the lowest. That would have been 6 minus 1 is 5. All right, so same kind of thing on the actual quiz. You'll be asked to give those same 3 pieces of information from a set of data. Then we have some equations to solve. Some of them are going to be really easy. Some of them are going to have more steps. And they may not be exactly like these. You could have a whole variety of things. So this first one, we would combine like terms, get those x's together, and then after we combine like terms, divide both sides by 7. Number 3 is very similar. Combine like terms, -5, +2, divide by -3, and n is equal to -8. The next couple have more steps. I see parentheses, so I know first off we will have to distribute. And if you want to try them on your own, if you haven't already, pause me, try them, and then see if you agree with my answers. Alright, so I'm going to start out with distributing. So the -5 on the outside gets multiplied times both numbers inside. Then we can combine like terms, 2m and -30m. Once we've done that, now it's a two-step equation. We'll add 30. And then we'll divide by -28. Two negatives, remember, make a positive. And any of our answers we can check by plugging the number in where the m's are and making sure it's true, that the left side and the right side would be equal. So number 5, still multiple steps, but not quite as many as number 4. So number 5, you can distribute first, or you could divide both sides by -4 first. I'm going to show you distribute first because problems like the one on the left, you had to distribute first. So I kind of am cautious about getting people away from that process. At 20, divide by -24. Of course, each step paying attention to your sign number rules. 2 negatives make a positive. So you want to be able to solve multi-step equations. Those equations only had variables on one side. The next few examples have variables on both sides. So what's on the outside is going to multiply times the things in the parentheses. Then we need to get the variables on one side, numbers on the other. Your choice, could go the other way, but I'm going to go this way. If you put your variables on the other side, just hold on to your hat and keep going, and we should still both get to the same solution. So now when we divide both sides by -27, you should get -1 for n. So number 7, we're going to distribute. Get those variables on the same side. Now it's a two-step equation. We'll get rid of the 2 by subtracting. And then get rid of the 8 by dividing by 8. And R is 2. The next ones are like the C's on IXL. These are proportion questions. So this is a nice straightforward cross multiply. So crisscross 2 times A needs to equal 7 times 6. And I could just go ahead and write down 42 if I wanted. So 2A is 42, divide by 2, and A would be 21. You could also kind of look at this. 2 times 3 is 6, so 7 times 3 is 21. Thinking about equal fractions, that I would have to do the same to the top and the bottom. So number 9, this is still in a section that says solve each proportion. So we're still going to use a proportion. So 12 gallons of gas to go 372 miles. So I can go gallons on top, miles on bottom, or the opposite way, as long as I'm consistent. If I choose to do it with 12 on top and 372 on the bottom, then the 620 is going to be on the bottom because it's miles. And we don't know how many gallons. So when I crisscross, cross multiply, 12 times 620 is 7,440. And then we would divide that by the 372. That's diagonal from our missing number. And we get 20 gallons. So lots of different applications can be done with proportions. Again, it's in a section that says solve each proportion. It's not by coincidence. These are also proportions. So this is like your algebraic proportion assignment on Google Classroom. Crisscross. So I'm going to take 4 times n minus 7 is equal to 5 times n minus 2. And I'm going to distribute on both sides. Then I'm going to get my variables together. Again, you can put them on whichever side you want. I actually could have made this one step shorter if I would have put it on the other side, but that's okay. That's a 28 still. Is equal to negative 10. So we'll add 28. And then divide by negative 1. And I got negative 18. Again, this application problem is a proportion. This is like the scale, which was like somewhat like C7, I believe. And so the scale is that 2 inches is equal to 17 miles. And then it says 4 inches apart, and we don't know the miles. So 2 times m is going to equal 17 times 4. And then we can divide. And you might not write down this whole equation. You might just leave it in your calculator. 4 times 17 divided by 2. But we still get 34. And it is an application problem, so even though it's a proportion, I should label the answer for anything that's an application problem. All right, next up. So remember, these are the steps like we did yesterday. Define a variable, and I don't mean tell me what the definition is. I mean like say x equals whatever you're looking for. Write the equation, solve it, and label your solution with the correct units. So what are we looking for? Looking for how many hours. So x is hours, the hours the electrician worked. So the electrician charges a $75 service call. Is that for every hour? No, it's not. Plus $50 per hour. So 50 gets the x. And that's equal to 225. And now we have a two-step equation, and we can subtract. And then we can divide. So that would be 3 hours. And that's the label, or the correct units, hours. And it does answer that question then. So Shalise and Jennifer are helping with the school's Facebook page. And currently it has 880. We want to know how many days until it gets to 1,000 likes. So X is standing for days. So we're starting out at 880, and it gets 8 likes per day. So the 8 is what's going to go with an X. That's what's happening every day. 1 day, 8. 2 days would be 16 more, etc., etc. We're going to repeatedly add 8. And we want to know, when's it going to get to 1,000? So we're going to subtract 880 on both sides. And then divide by 8. To get 15, and remember, it's 15 days. That's the answer to the question of when, how many days would it take, or if I said when, in 15 days. Okay, so those kind of questions are going to be worth multiple points. And part of the points are just for making sure that you label correctly. So, other things that you need to be prepared for. You need to be prepared to be able to explain your work in words. Okay? You need to be prepared to explain work in words. You also need to be prepared for things like if I ask you something to the effect of a negative times a negative is what? A negative times a negative would be a positive, for instance. So be familiar with those sign number rules. You could test things out on a calculator to help you, but it would be something you might, it may not be the traditional way that you're used to seeing a question. So things that are written out more in words. All right. So I will have that posted. And again, hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, these kind of things would just be like rules. Or if I gave you something like this, and said, what's the first step? So what would happen first? And hopefully you would say, take 2 to the 5th power, or the exponent. Or if I said, after doing 2 to the 5th power, what would happen next? And hopefully you would say, multiply by 3. So not that I would be asking you to do the whole problem, just kind of the what's next, or after a certain step, what would be next, or what would be first. Okay? All right. Thanks a lot.